Are you in a tough season in your business? Was 2024 one of the more difficult years that you've faced as a business owner or business leader? Today's guest, Brantley Fowler, one of the soon-to-be owners of Zeno Office Solutions, walks us through how he has gone about getting more sales in their business and how he navigated seasons where it was hard, where the sales didn't come easy, where the operations were hard. And he had to get through that season to, ultimately get to the season of harvest and the season of really seeing the fruits of your labor. And he has a lot of really practical tips on how to get more sales today and what you need to be doing today, as well as what happens when, you do all of that and things aren't going right. So I think you'll get a lot out of that in today's episode with Brantley Fowler. And welcome to the Business Growth Masterclass, where business growth is made simple. Listen as we discuss best practices to streamline your operations, increase your profits, and ultimately create healthier, more stable, and more valuable companies. Here we go. Welcome to the podcast, Mr. Brantley Fowler. How are you, sir?
Great, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. Man, you've got a good radio voice. I like that.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We have faces built for the radio. All right. I want to start out with an icebreaker. You recently made an adventure trip down to Africa.
Oh, man.
And went on a hunting trip. Tell me about that.
Yeah, man. That was a trip of a lifetime. Africa. So I went to South Africa.
Okay.
And it wasn't a trip that I would ever say I wanted to go on. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like there's places that you want to go, and then there's places that you just don't even think about going. And that was one that I, didn't think about going ever. And so 2 years ago, I bought a trip at an auction, a hunting trip. And my brother conned me into doing that. So bought this trip, decided to take father-in-law, and it's you have to book it, pick these dates and all this. So we went to the Limpopo province of South Africa.
Okay.
And we went hunting for the hunt was about a week. And then the next week we flew down to Cape Town, and we stayed in Cape Town for like 3 or 4 days. And then the travel, getting there and getting back home, it was about a 2-week trip. So
Holy cow.
It was incredible.
2 weeks.
It was
you, your brother, and your father-in-law?
No, just me and father-in-law. No.
Oh man.
My brother's part of the story because he conned me into to doing the hunt to begin with.
Uh-huh.
Like to buying it. So anyway.
What did you hunt? Did you get any animals?
I did. So I got, let's see, the biggest thing I wanted to hunt was a kudu.
Uh-huh.
And that's really why I took my father-in-law's, because that's his dream, was to always go to Africa and shoot a kudu. And so, like, what better time than now?
Yeah. And the greater kudu, they're like the size of a horse.
Oh, man.
And they have those huge spiral antlers that go backward.
They're just magnificent animals.
Or horns. They don't shed those.
Yeah, no, they call them the gray ghost.
Uh-huh.
And for good reason. I mean, those things you can't, as big as they are, they're hard to hunt. You
really?
Can't see them. Yeah, they're incredible animals. But so we both shot a kudu. I shot a warthog.
Okay.
Which I got a big warthog. So I'll have to show you the picture of that.
Yeah.
When we're done. I got a zebra.
Okay. Zebra.
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. What else did I shoot? I shot a ostrich.
Okay. I had that meat. The meat's amazing.
I didn't do the meat. So maybe I should have. But what they do over there is when you shoot an animal, they take the meat when they skin it, you keep it for, to do like a mount or whatever, but they take the meat and donate it to like the local villages and stuff. So, but the place we stayed at, they would use like some of the meat to cook, some of your meals with, but probably wasn't the animal we shot, but it's what they make you think.
Yep.
So, and then what else did I shoot? I shot a diker.
Are those the little guys?
The little bitty little antelopes with little baby.
Yeah. Yeah.
So shot a diker. I feel like I shot an impala.
Okay.
So, and the impala, that was the first animal I shot when I got there, and that was fun. The one thing I wanted to shoot that we hunted for like 3 different days that I just couldn't get, they were hard to hunt, was baboon.
Oh.
And the baboon, we went to the mountains a couple of days, and the baboons are like 300 to 400 pounds.
Holy cow.
They're huge.
Rip your face off.
But they're elusive.
Oh,
They're
man.
elusive.
I've never known anybody to go on a baboon hunt.
Yeah.
Okay. The overall hunting, compare to hunting in Texas underneath a feeder in a blind, like how wildly different.
So I can tell you, I have no experience doing that. This is literally the second time I've ever hunted.
Oh my gosh. You're ruined
I'm ruined forever. The only other time I hunted was my brother's bachelor party. And so and that was years ago. So I'm not a hunter.
Your brother conned you into a trip of a lifetime.
He did. And then he was pissed, because he's a big hunter. He's like, I can't believe you're going to Africa before I am.
Oh my word.
So yeah.
Okay. And then Cape Town.
So Cape Town's.
What'd you do there?
So it's a 4-hour flight from where we were. So we were basically like on the very northeast corner of South Africa before you get into like Botswana and the other countries. So, Cape Town, obviously on the very southern tip, and that was incredible. We were scheduled to get in a cage, and they were going to feed great whites around us and sharks, and drop us down, and we were going to get to do all that. And the seas were too bad, so we didn't get to go, which kind of sucked. But that was disappointing because that was going to be like the biggest thrill thing of a lifetime. But we ended up. We went on a couple of tours to some different parts around like Cape Town, like, the very tip of the continent. Did saw penguins, did all that kind of stuff. Went out on a boat and saw southern right whales. It's their mating season when we were there.
Okay.
So they all go to this one bay, and they all just mate in this bay for like 3 months, and then they leave and go to Antarctica. That's where they're from.
Okay,
I
like it.
Exactly. So, and that was cool. We stayed at a sweet resort. We went up to Table Rock Mountain, which is a mountain in Cape Town that it sits above the city. You can take like a gondola up there, and anyway, you just look down at the city. It's incredibly beautiful. And then we just ate good food, hung out, just walked around, just did the things.
What a trip!
Yeah, it was awesome.
A trip! I've wanted to ask you about that for a while.
It was fun. The hunting was phenomenal. Just because I'm not a hunter,
Yeah.
And being around those people, the people are fantastic. Like the people that we were around, and they love Americans. So just like a family that owns this hunting outfit there. So. What surprised me is you think that you're going to be like in the wilderness, like that's in my mind as a non-hunter, what I was thinking Africa was like, going hunting in Africa, but it was like so much like West Texas there, just like mesquite bushes and, trees and stuff like that. And just a lot of dirt. And it's basically like massive ranches that are like fenced in with the animals. Like I was thinking it's like free range and you're like following the animals. No, it's not like that.
No, if they don't control it, the people will eat those animals. So my friends that have gone, that go to Africa often, those like professional hunters that are the guides.
Yes. Yeah.
Like that's a thing that they go to school for.
Wow.
Like some of those countries, I can't remember if it's Zimbabwe or what country, but some of those countries, it's like a 3-year program that you go through to like,
wow.
I mean, it's like a wildlife management degree. They're learning how to manage these herds, how to take care of them, when you need to bring in a vet, when you don't, because that's like a big part of their economy.
Yeah, it's huge.
And they typically, you like give the meat to the locals and they eat it. But managing those herds, keeping them from becoming too imbalanced or killing all of them. If they were to do that, like,
Yeah.
for one, they'd have those populations would completely disappear. And two, they wouldn't
wild.
have all of that income that comes from.
It's a business.
Yeah.
But the crazy thing is the elephants, those elephant hunts, they talked a lot about those. And those elephants, I did not realize how destructive they are over there.
Really?
And how they destroy crops. They trample and kill people. They destroy like villages. And so the elephants are actually a problem. You think they're this really nice, animal that you see in the zoo, but no, they're not like that over there.
A wild elephant.
Just wild. Yeah. They're just, and so, this family that I hunted with, they have another place in Botswana that's 4 million acres.
Goodness.
And they do elephant hunts over there. So it's crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. I wanted to ask you about that.
Yeah, man. That's great.
The reason we have you here, this is the Business Growth Masterclass. It's a business improvement podcast, and you were a business owner. And so tell me a little bit about your business and how you got in. What do you do and how'd you get in it?
Yeah. So great question. So I got into, I am in the business of, we are in the imaging business, which is we sell and service printers, copiers, that sort of thing for businesses, like just business to business. And then, when we expanded up to Lubbock, we got in the shred business. So now we're doing shredding, on-site, secured, basically secure document destruction. There's a really catchy way to say what I do, but that is what I do. I'm not going to make it sound fancier than it is.
Don't try to church it up.
Yeah, exactly. So, but I got in the business, and my dad started the company back in 1999.
Okay.
And when I was 2013 is whenever I decided to come to work at Zeno. Zeno Office Solutions is the name of our business.
Mm-hmm.
And I was in the Coast Guard, and I was looking for something else to do. And my dad had, started contacting me, and he needed a succession plan. He wanted to get out at some point in his life. So brother and sister didn't want to work there. So I guess I was the last ditch effort to get out of the copier business eventually. So I came to work at Zeno in 2013 in Midland, and just, started doing sales up and down the street.
Mm-hmm.
And, which I absolutely loved. And
really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Had a lot of success. Grew our customer base. Our company grew a lot. And then, Dad and I kind of came up with a plan for me to eventually buy the company, which is where we sit today.
Okay. So I have so many questions. So family-owned business.
Family-owned business.
It's a business your dad started.
He had a partner when he started originally, and his partner passed away of cancer in 2010. And his partner and him were like great friends, great business partners. And they literally made their deal for him to buy his half out on the back of a napkin. They just came up with a number and then said, oh, we're only that far apart. You want to just split it down the middle? Okay, cool. Let's do the deal. They were just like that. And so.
Okay. So whenever you came into the business was 15, 14 years old.
Yeah.
And how many employees were in the business at that point?
I think we had probably like maybe 12 or 13.
Okay. So there's some people that have been there.
Yeah.
For a while. How were the first couple of years, you're the SOB, you're the son of a boss.
Yeah.
That walks into the business. How did that go the first couple of years? Tell me about that.
Well, so when I was a kid growing up, my dad always gave us the opportunity to work there. And so I had done everything from work in the warehouse, break down boxes, scrub toilets, deliver toner, deliver machines to customers, like new equipment. I had worked doing sales calls. So going in, people knew how my dad was, and they knew that he wasn't going to let me have anything easy. So I wasn't worried about that.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I'm wired is I wanted to prove myself to people. or it was really important to me that they saw me as just another employee, but that they saw me as somebody that was going to make my own way. It wasn't going to be made for me. So that it was kind of weird at first, but the first couple of years it didn't take but 60 days for people to be like, he's just another employee. He might be Dale's son, but he's not going to get anything handed. So
good.
Yeah.
That there's all different flavors of that, from, handed on a silver spoon to in the trenches, doing the grunt work. And you said you had some pretty initial success in that.
Yeah.
What, I mean, it was sales, this like cold,
it's
walking up, asking for the sale. Is that like in the business? Is that, you feel like that's your wheelhouse? Those are your gifts? Like what's your gift in the business?
That's a good question. I'm biased, but this business is the hardest business to do sales in.
Okay.
And anybody that has done it would tell you that. I've had some very experienced, very tenured, highly successful salespeople that come to sell, to do what we do, business to business sales, selling what we sell. And they're like, I can't do it. It's too hard. It's just a lot of rejection. But it's just, cold calling business to business. And you're just trying to set appointments to get your foot in the door to, see if they have a need and see if you can, it's just right place, right time. But it's just so much rejection. And then you get a little bit of light to get an appointment, or a little bit of light to get maybe a proposal. Okay, what are the chances you get that business and bring that customer on? It's tough. And you got to do a lot to be to just make it, much less be, successful to a degree. My goal wasn't really to be successful. My goal was to be a unicorn. Like,
okay,
I wanted to be a unicorn from the get-go.
What does that mean?
It just means I wanted to do things that nobody else had ever done in sales in the industry. And I wanted to do it to a level that not only Zeno had ever seen, but like people within the industry would be like, that's not normal. So
why?
Because I'm wired, man. What is fun about being average? Like that has always been my thing. And so now coming into ownership, like all my employees know, like if we're going to be average, why are we doing this? Like, and I don't want to just be like good. I want to be like a unicorn, so far above and beyond. So that's actually part of our core values at our company. One of our core values is premier, and it's basically that we're a unicorn in the industry, and we remain that way, and that's how we are for our customers. So it's there's a lot to that, but that's 30,000 foot of it.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. So you want to be a unicorn in sales. You walk into this, you're doing the hard part, the hard selling, and had some pretty early success from that. Tell me a little bit about some of those wins. Like paint the picture of this unicorn sales.
Well, I'll tell you
what does that mean?
I'll tell you, it was just really hard. I had a daughter that was young. I was coming out of the military. I took a pay cut from the military to work for my dad to do sales.
Okay.
So that tells you a lot. I was on straight commission, but I had to provide for my family. I got stuck in a territory in downtown Midland where we had no business, very, very low success rate there, like historically. And they're like, here's your territory. Go make calls. See if you can see what you can do. I was on a quarterly commission plan.
Okay.
So the first quarter I was there, I made a $9,000 like commission check, and I thought I had just died and gone to heaven. And I cried. I made it. And I cried when my dad, went over the stuff with me, all the numbers and everything. He showed me the 9,000, and it was like this, mystery reveal. Okay, here it is. And I just remember, like, I just cried like a baby because I had never seen that.
Yeah.
And then 2 weeks later, when I got paid, I'm calling him going, hey, I didn't get the $9,000 in my account. It's like, It's like 5,000. He's like, welcome to paying taxes. So that was my first exposure to Uncle Sam. And I was really disappointed. So after that, it was always like, okay, what's it going to be after taxes? So,
that's great.
But, people are in sales. The people are in sales for a lot of different reasons. I mean, it's just across the board. And I listen to a lot of different sales podcasts because I love sales, I like salespeople. And I think what drives sales is there's so many different things, but when you're young and hungry, and you have a family to feed, you're there to help a customer, but you're there to make a living, and you have to win to make a living. You can't just take L's all the time, you know?
Yeah.
And so, I was just so determined, this has to work, I don't have another choice.
Mm-hmm.
So, I was making 50 to 60 door knocks, street, business to business. I was calling on 50 to 60 businesses a day in person. And then on Mondays, I would call maybe 100 businesses over the phone. And I would do that every week, every day. And just to try to get something, some momentum going. And, maybe 3 years later, some of the other salespeople, as were like, well, why does he get downtown Midland? And they were like, downtown Midland was nothing 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Now everybody wants to be there. And so, I was like, okay, I'll go sell somewhere else. At the end of the day, you create your own destiny, so in sales. And so, it just, to me, it was like, it doesn't matter where you put me. I'm gonna make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so fast forward even more, expanding up here to Lubbock, it was just on a lot bigger scale because it was like, okay, now we're going to take our company in Midland that's really successful, that has a really good name. We're going to take that to a whole different city. I'm going to take this to a new city and I'm going to try to replicate this thing that's so great, which is scary, but also it was kind of like how it was when I started selling. It was like, I'm going to do this, And so nobody knew who we were when we came here and all that. And so anyway, that's been probably the funnest part about expanding up here, is because it feels a lot like the days of old.
Yeah. Okay. Hang on. We gotta pause right here. This is a good, a great nugget here of you're calling 50 to 60 people every single day. And on Mondays, we're calling 100.
Yeah.
And you're like, fast forward 3 years. So let's sit there for a second. Like business owners need to hear that of you have to make the calls. You have to go collect your no's.
Yep.
Get told no 50 times a day.
Yeah.
And keep showing up the next day with a smile on your face and trying to ask, how can I solve this customer's problem?
Yep.
And do that 50 times a day and twice on Monday.
And get told a lot of no's.
Yeah.
A lot of no's. And no just means not right now.
Yeah.
It's like, you just have to be able to have thick skin, especially in this business, because you get told no a lot. Who wants to talk about a printer? Nobody wants to meet with you about a printer. That's what makes it hard. Is it's so important to businesses. And of course, the technology nowadays changes things, but it is so important to businesses. But at the same time, it's like the last thing people want to talk about. And so I always laugh because I know that, I know I'm the last guy you want to talk to. But such as a lot of things, I enjoy making the relationship. That's the connection and the relationship with people is what I enjoy the most. Just like with employees, it's that relationship. So putting that time into it. So if you're a realtor, if you are, whatever, XYZ salesperson and you're starting this career, you just need to accept the fact for the next at least 2 years, make 50 to 60 calls a day and do it twice on Monday. And that's just the time. That's the initial deposit that you need to put in. Yeah.
But you are cultivating this field, this crop that you are,
yes,
you're plowing, you're planting, you're fertilizing, you're doing all of these things for 2 years.
Yeah.
And eventually you get to reap the harvest.
Yep.
But I love what you said about building these relationships, and the issue there of so much that salesmen and people offering, products and services think that it's this transactional thing, that I'm going to meet somebody
Yeah.
and I'm going to sell them on this.
Yeah.
And that's just not how it works. Like you're reaching out to these people 5, 6, 7 times and you're building rapport.
Exactly.
Right. And then you're telling them your story, how you can help solve their problems. And then when the actual problem comes, when the printer breaks and they've done all the DIY YouTube videos they can, and they're about ready to throw the thing,
Right.
Office Space style,
Right.
get a baseball bat.
Right.
Then they're like, man, who's that guy who knows how to do this?
Yeah.
Give me his number, get him in here.
Yeah.
And that's that's solving people's problem. Like people from the outside who aren't in sales, like hear that and they're like, oh, salesy. This guy's going to keep calling. And really, like what you're describing is like you're building relationships with people. You're not giving them this hard sell 50 times a day. It's like, hey man, how are you doing? What are you guys doing for this?
Yeah.
For this service? How is that? Tell me about that. Is that going well?
Yep.
And eventually it's like, hey man, my hair is on fire. Come fix this problem. Get it out of my hair.
Yeah. Yeah. I think when I learned, like to your point, I think when I finally learned I read this book called Spin Selling, and it's super old school.
Spin selling.
Spin selling.
Okay.
And it used to be like my Bible for selling. Like when I would get in a slump in sales, I'd reread Spin Selling. And it's old. Like it has a lot of old sales tactics, but the thing that it taught me was, how to create a need not when there's not a need, but whenever the customer doesn't recognize it's even a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And
at least not yet.
And just learning how to ask questions and just listen. And I think colossal all the time that you see salespeople just talk too much. They just talk too much. They don't ask questions and just listen, and for me, that was one of my favorite parts about selling in the field every day was I started learning about all these different things in oil and gas just from asking questions, being in Midland. Mm-hmm. Just everything from drilling to fracking to sand hauling to, logistics to downhole tools to, just all these things. And it was fascinating. And people love to talk about themselves, So, and it's cool, but it was cool to hear somebody talk about, that had just started a company, talk about what their vision was and what they were going to do with their business, or maybe they were just experiencing extreme, like massive growth. And that's why they were talking to me, they were growing and they needed what I had, but the sell was cool, but like getting to know those people, creating a relationship and watching them take their business from like 4 employees to 2 years later, they've got like a 3-story building with like 150. It was just incredible. It was just incredible. And to me, that takes the cake on, and we've got the best customers in the world. We really, really do. And a lot of them become friends and you watch them be successful. And it's just, what's cooler than that?
Yeah. And people have great stories.
They do.
If you
ask.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
You pull it out of them and get to hear, how they got started and what they do and why. And
right.
That's the sales gets a lot of, they earn some of the bad reputation.
Facts. Yeah.
But there's so much to sales that is like that building relationships and solving problems.
Yeah. And I'm not going to say I never made anybody mad from calling on them. The funniest story I have is when I walked in and this lady, I gave her my card and she was just having a bad day, I guess. And she decided to take my card and turn around and run it through the shredder. in front of me and was basically telling me get out of her office. And so I had a bunch of cards in my pocket. So I took a stack of them out and said, well, in that case, you'll probably be needing a few more of those. Those all got shredded too. So now our company has thick plastic business cards. There's a story behind that.
Yes.
That's why. So
yes,
it's funny, but so good times.
That is amazing. Okay. Well, you gave me a good story right there. Tell me some more. Like what's some of the biggest L's you took and what'd you learn from that?
I can specifically remember this time back in 2015, and there was a really big oil downturn in Midland. And I was a year and a half, like 15 months maybe into the business.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's those 4 stages of, how competent you are. So there's like, you're unconsciously competent, all those stages of,
Mm-hmm.
and I was to the stage where I was consciously incompetent. Like I knew that I didn't know things. Mm-hmm. So I was already a little rocky, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And even though I was having some success, like I knew that something's not like, I feel like I'm naked. Like there's still things that I don't know, and it was kind of to that point where it's like, I'm not confident.
Uh-huh.
And I remember like there was this guy that was, one of our team members that was selling, and he was a pretty tenured guy in the industry, and he came to work at Zeno, and he beat me, and he beat me like for like 3 months in a row. And I mean, for me to just get beat once is bad enough. And I still remember sitting back in the back of the bullpen being like, is this where I give up? Is this where I quit? Because I'm getting beat and there's this oil downturn and I can't get any business because no one in downtown Midland wants to do anything right now. But this guy's walking in, he's selling door to door in Odessa and he's getting deals and I'm not.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, taking hard criticism, but also knowing and understanding like this guy's getting deals and winning and I'm not. And we're in the same environment. His environment was actually probably harder because he was selling to the service companies in Odessa, not the people in downtown Midland. 2 very different environments.
Mm-hmm.
But yet he's successful. He's beating me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember being like, either I'm going to quit or I'm going to figure out what's wrong. And I decided to figure out what was wrong. And it really was, that's actually when I read Spin Selling for the first time. And so I just looked for knowledge, like, okay, what can I learn a nugget, like one thing? There's got to be something I'm not doing right. Because it's not for lack of effort. Like I'm making, 250, 300, 350 calls a week, like, and I'm just not having any success. And so I could choose to blame that on the economy and blame that on the oil and gas downturn and blame that and blame it. Or I could choose to go, what's wrong with me?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what do I need to fix? So, looking in the mirror, and that's not easy to do. And so I read the book, then started just trying some things in it. And all of a sudden I started having a little success. So read the book a little more, started having a little more success. I bet I reread that book, not kidding, 6 or 7 times in a month, like 1 month. And it's not a thick book, but it's not short either. And I was addicted. And I remember that 4th month, like just absolutely crushing this guy. But I remember sitting in the back of the bullpen at the end of that month going, I almost quit 30 days ago. I almost quit this whole industry. And I look back now at where I am in the industry and I'm like, what if I would have chosen the path of quitting?
Mm-hmm.
Like where would I be today?
Mm-hmm.
But instead, by the grace of God, I chose this other path that took me to where I am today. And all on the way, there was so much success. And yeah, bumps and bruises, but I look at that and go, you always have a choice, and if you want it bad enough, you'll dig deep enough and you'll find whatever it is inside of yourself in sales that's broken.
Mm.
You can't blame it on your environment. You can't blame it on this. Oh, it's election year. Oh, it's this, it's that. They want to wait till January. No, if I'm good enough to buy from in January, I'm good enough to buy from today.
Mm-hmm.
And so anyway, it's these things, this narratives that we tell ourselves in our head as salespeople, like, oh, and this, and then when things are bad, it's just easy to just let all the little gremlins talk to you, and so that would be my biggest piece of advice and biggest thing I learned is if you really want to do this, there's so much good, the relationships you make out of it and just all those things. But if you lean into the part of what's in me that, what's in here. Okay, I've got the effort part down, but there's something broken.
Mm-hmm.
If you lean into that, there's no telling where God takes you.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway,
Dude. Okay. That is so good. There's another book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Yeah.
That's the secret is whenever you decide I'm going to take personal responsibility for every single thing.
Yeah.
For every single thing that I have control over, it's because of me. Not in an arrogant, God doesn't have a role in this, but it's
right.
I have a choice to make on every little thing. My effort.
Well, faith without works is dead.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to take action.
Yes, exactly. You can't just talk about it.
Right.
You need to get your hands dirty and get out there.
Right.
And your effort. Am I making the 50 calls every day and twice on Monday? Do I have a good attitude when I'm doing it? Am I continuing to examine myself with humility and looking to others and seeing, what are they doing that's working? What are they doing that's, causing them to fail?
Yep.
And what do I need to do different?
Yep.
And then having the tenacity to not quit. And that is business owners need to hear that right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they do.
Because the world, if you're on Fox News or CNN right now, there's a lot of crying going on. If that's what you're putting in your body and what you're putting in your mind, the future's dark. There's not a lot of hope.
Yep.
Things are hard right now. Not a lot of people are thriving.
Yeah, that's facts.
And it's easy to tell yourself, well, let's hang it up. Let's go do something else. But a lot of times it just takes tenacity and, all right, am I putting in the effort? Do I have a good attitude? Am I continuing to look at myself and figure out how can I solve this problem? What choice do I need to make today that's the next right decision? And do that over and over and over until you win.
You hit the nail on the head, and you said something that is so spot on, and not a lot of people are doing well right now. So that's the statement, which is so true. 2024 has been tough for a lot of businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I had a lot of people and friends that I know that have gone out of business, and it's been tough, no doubt. But not everybody is not doing well. So the question is, are you going to find the ones that are? Because they are out there. People out there that are doing well.
Mm-hmm.
So are you going to focus on finding those or just worry about all the ones that aren't doing well and just, you know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
So to your point, it's just a mentality. It's just a mentality. That's all it is.
Dude, so. I love that. And that's, I'm not good at a lot of things, but being persistent and tenacious, that's the only thing I have going for me. And I appreciate that you said that, because that's just what it takes.
Yep.
It's not sexy. It's not, an easy bake oven, but
that's what, we live in a world now that it's everybody wants instant gratification. They want instant, and that's just part of the world we live in. So why wouldn't you want success to just be instant and not require a lot of work, but that's not how it works. It's just not how it works. So yeah, that's, yeah,
okay.
you're spot on.
Other layer to this, you are very involved with your family.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
in the middle of all of this, like you're burning the boats.
Yeah.
We're going to go and we're going to kill something and bring it home. How are you also in the middle of that? Or are you? Do you feel that you are being a good husband and father through this?
No.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
No, not at that time. I was not. I was in the midst of my addiction. So during that time, no, I wasn't. I was terrible. I needed to make a lot of money to feed my addiction. Mm-hmm. And that was just facts. Mm. And my wife sacrificed a lot in those years for me to be able to go and, work late, come home with a newborn, eat dinner really quick, go back up to the office. And those were good things. Like, I was being tenacious. I was doing things no other sales rep was doing then. That's why I was gaining traction so fast. But at the end of the day, it was like, fast forward 3 or 4 years, like, she was still making a lot of sacrifices for me. And I wasn't around a lot because I needed to make money to feed my addiction. And so, no, I wasn't. That's probably not the answer you want to hear, people want to hear. But for me, that was my story at that time. And, until I went to rehab in 2018 and my life changed and I got sober. But until that, those years in between there, I made a ton of money. I was really successful outside of my house. I was horrible inside. I was terrible. So no, not a good dad, not a good husband, not a good, great provider, maybe in a financial sense. But even then, not really, because I was really irresponsible. So there wasn't a lot I did well. The only thing I did really well then was sell. And that was it. Wish it was different, but that was just my story.
Tell me more. Like how
yeah.
Like, you turn the page. Tell me, like, I mean, what you can and what you feel comfortable. Like, tell me, like, there's a lot of business owners that are in that.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
So common.
Especially years like now, when you're like, I got to burn the boats. I got to do something that's unsustainable.
Yeah.
But you also, there's a piece of you that, whether it was forced or not, is like examining yourself. So how do you go from that to where you are today?
Oh man. Getting sober changed my life. I mean, obviously from the sake that I actually got to continue to live, because I was told I would probably only have lived for, that was 2018. One of the doctors sat me down there at treatment. Like, it was like my first week there. And he said, "So you have kids?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "So how old are your kids?" And he's asked me all these questions. And then he proceeds to tell me, "Well, based on your blood work, there's going to be a day," he said, "probably in 2021-ish, that you're just not going to wake up. So you're never going to watch your daughter cheer at a football game. You're never going to watch your son, play this sport, whatever. You're not going to walk your daughter down the aisle. You're not going to go to graduate." He starts to list all this stuff. And I just broke down. I mean, I was just like, the weight of the words that he was telling me was like more than I could take. And, that was like hard to hear, but it was the truth. And so, when I came out of rehab, and there's a lot of things it takes to be sober. And so, and everyone does it different, everyone does it different, but, I just got involved in recovery, and as they say, connection is protection. So I just tried to, like, that had to be the thing that came first for me. And as long as I was healthy, well, I was probably going to be a better dad, a better, a better husband, a better employee, a better whatever. But I had to do those things and put in the work. So all this work that I had been putting into work, now I'm having to do it to myself. Like I'm just having to work on myself. And, being an alcoholic is a disease. So it's not like, I mean, if I stop doing what I need to do to be sober, I might drink again tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't even want to guess what that would look like. I got some ideas when I played the tape forward before, and it doesn't look very good, like real good at all. So it became a thing where I was just open about it. It was my story. And then I started connecting, I started connecting a lot with people. And then it was just like, I just sort of tried to live God's will and clean up my side of the street and do things. And I'm not perfect. Nobody is. I mean, I still don't do things perfect today, but I think it's about the consistency and the effort, right? And that's kind of like, I think just being honest with yourself, knowing where you're at. And it's weird because we try to like not be honest with ourselves, even though it's like yourself. Like, I don't know if that's such a weird thing to say, but that's how people are wired. I think that's just how the enemy gets to you. But anyway, I try to use those things to focus on being a better human being. And when I came out of that, I was like, I'm going to have to sell my house. I'm going to have to do all this stuff. Because I was like, bad gambling addiction. I just a bad financial condition. Even though I was making, $600,000-$700,000 a year, I had no money. And like, I was like, okay, well, I don't even know what this is going to look like. And then all of a sudden, I'm focusing on being better, being a better husband, getting healthy, recovery, whatever happens with work. And all of a sudden, like, God just provides even more than he was before. So I look back now and I almost wonder if it was God's way of preparing me to be able to handle what I have today.
Mm-hmm.
Because I know I wouldn't be able to handle the journey I'm about to go on, owning all the stock and buying the company for my dad. I don't think I would have been able to handle that if I hadn't gone through what I went through with my alcoholism.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, well, yeah, it's over. It's not. But the things that I learned through this journey so far have equipped me, I think, hopefully, to be a better leader, to be a better, boss, to be a better, for my people, to be a better husband, to be a better father. Now it's like, yeah, I do want to go spend time at home. I do want to, sneak off early. I want to be at all my kids at, sporting events. Before I didn't want anything to do with that. I just want to be at the golf course, gambling, drinking beer. And even in a climate like today's world where it's so tough, it is a tough economy, God's providing.
Mm-hmm.
And it may look different than the way that you draw it up in your mind, but I've learned to just relax and let it be. And I'm not perfect at that either. Like, cause I want to win. I want to grow, I want to do all this stuff. At the end of the day, like, I just handed out 20 17-pound hams to all my employees for their family for Thanksgiving. How blessed am I?
That's amazing.
There's businesses that can't do that today. Yeah. And not that that's a huge deal, but it's just little things like that. It's like, man, I'm blessed, So anyway,
man, as a, I guess juxtaposed to the principle that we just laid out prior to that was you have to take complete responsibility for everything. It's on you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a maturity and a development and continuing to wrestle with where is my heart and where's God in this?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And is he in the middle of this or is he, just aside?
Mm-hmm.
And there's no like easy answer to any of that.
No.
But as a if you feel called to be a business owner and an entrepreneur, and you are wired that way, like that's just how you're wired. Those are gifts, right? Those are like talents, gifts that God has given you, that to be a good steward of that is it's a heavy responsibility, because you have to keep that in its proper place, right? Like you can't,
That is so
like
true.
that can't be your idol.
No.
And you have to continue to examine yourself and your heart and all of that, of like, is this the right, like, are my priorities in the right place? Because
Yeah.
if God isn't, if you aren't holding that with an open hand, because heaven forbid you get hit by a truck tomorrow.
Yeah.
And what then?
What then?
You know, what are your kids going to do?
Yeah.
And if that's not in its proper place. And so, man, that got a lot deeper than I thought that was going, but man, that's just
sorry, man.
That's perfect. Like that's the good stewardship of the hard times, of like, it is easy to lean on something, to lean on, you know, like we talk about it all the time, like as a business owner, like watch your vices.
Yeah.
You know, if it's, I'm going to have a beer or an old fashioned to relax. And then it becomes, I'm going to have a old fashioned because, man, that was a hard day. And then it, you know, it can easily pick your vice,
That's,
like that.
That was exactly what, you know, that's why, like when I was, you know, before I knew I was, you know, on the downhill spiral, I was, you know, salesperson just coming home having one beer. And then it was like, oh, and heavy on the weekend. And then it was like, okay, one beer a day plus heavy on the weekend. It was like, all right, 3 beers, you know, it's so great point, you know. And I would say like what you said a second ago made me think like how I knew that I was ready to be an entrepreneur. Knew that I was ready to like actually own this business and own Zeno was my first thought used to always be about the money.
Mm-hmm.
Cause that's business, you know, it's just the dollar, the almighty dollar. Right. But the first thought that I had when somebody asked me, you know, or somebody made a comment to me about, oh, you're going to be a wealthy man or something like that. And my first thought was, I hope I do bless a lot of people's lives. And then it was like, I can't believe I just thought that first. But that's where my heart is. And that's where my heart is for this journey of being, you know, a new entrepreneur and taking over this successful company. Cause there's a lot of fear and, well, what if it fails, you know, or what if it doesn't work out, or what if, and the core focus is like, I just want to impact these people's lives that like I've been entrusted, like that are part of my team and that I've been entrusted with. And then like, I just want to impact their life, and I want to do the same thing at home, you know? And if the money follows, great. As long as I have what I need, as long as God takes care of me, I'm good. But it used to be like, oh, I need to make this many millions, you know, a year. We need to, you know, and it's like, I'm sure God will take care of that.
Yep.
I'm sure God will take care of that.
Yep. We can screw that up just fine.
Exactly.
And that's, I'm so glad you said that. And that's the, you know, the cynics, the, you know, those that haven't been a business owner, the employing people is heavy.
It's heavy.
And the families that are dependent on this thing continuing, and these paychecks coming in, and those babies, and the homes, and the food, and that's so heavy and a burden. And it's a weight. Burden it's the right word.
No, it's a weight. I mean, and it's hard whenever like that. That's probably been my biggest fear, is because the concrete foundation that my dad built the business on, And he hasn't been involved for like 3 or 4 years, right? Like he just hasn't. But there's something about him, me owning it solely that like is different when we have all these phenomenal benefits for our employees and things that he created that are like above and beyond what so many businesses do. And I'm looking at that going, well, I've got to carry, you know what I mean? I've got to make this work and make it be better. Well, it's like, and that's a, not a burden, but it's a weight.
Yeah.
It's heavy. It's a heavy feeling because when you realize you are truly responsible for people and their families, it's like, whoa, that gets real fast.
Yep. Every decision.
Every decision.
Dang. Okay. Yeah. You've alluded to this several times. So recently you bought your dad out. Close.
Yeah.
And moving into the future. So tell me about that. Like how did that process go? And what are you like, what's next? What's next at Zeno?
Man, it's really exciting. I'll tell you that. So we had a plan for me to buy the business or have the option to buy the business. We made this plan like about 8 years ago, that January 1st, 2025, that I would buy the company if I so chose to do that. And boy, a lot can happen in 8 years. So there was times that I was like, I don't know if I'm going to do that. What do we need to do? Like, is something else going to happen? Maybe this isn't the best path for me. But ultimately, early 2024, I decided this is what I feel like God wants me to do. And so began the process of, all right, let's exercise the option at the end of the year. Now we've been talking about that for 8 years. Now, what does that actually look like? And what all is going to go into that? And we could do a whole segment on that. Just the transaction itself. I've learned so much through that process. And just like when I grew up in the business, this is not you get it. This is, you're buying the business. This is a business transaction. There's no cut here. And so it was time to put on the big boy pants and go through that. One of the things that I'm so grateful that I did was about 6-7 months ago, I did a massive due diligence deep dive into our company, which is weird to say because I worked there every day for so many years. And when you do that, because you're going to become an owner, things become real, but you learn so much about your business. My advice to people would be, even if you're not buying your company, try to find a way or a time to do a deep dive due diligence like you are going to buy it or sell it or whatever. You wouldn't do a due diligence if you were selling it, but like if you were going to buy it. And it was just so eye-opening. And so it created a lot of things that, okay, I got to work on this. I got to work on this. Okay, this isn't where I thought it was going to be. Okay, well, and 2023 was a record year for us. It was a 25-year record, for our company as far as, profits and all that kind of stuff. And it was just a great year. But yet 6 months after that, I'm looking at it going, this is so broken. What am I buying? And it's really not, but that's what, you're your own worst critic. So anyway, went through that process, went through the whole financial piece of it. And okay, well, what avenue am I going to use to purchase the company and how's that going to work? And got all that sorted out. And, it's kind of weird when you're going back and forth with attorneys with your dad. It's like, hey, they're coming in town to visit to see a grandkids chapel program. And it's like, hey, did you get the documents from the attorney? It's kind of a weird thing to navigate. Yeah. But I think we're good. The beginning was a little rocky, but I guess negotiating what the actual deal was going to be. But after getting through that, we're at the phase now where we're waiting to close. We close on December 31st. So we close the last day of this year and
dang,
sign papers, and dad retires and Brantley starts next chapter. And so what am I looking forward to? we have done a tremendous amount of work the last 90 days on our business, and we're going back through EOS again, which I told you we did,
Traction.
2 or 3 years ago. Traction, yeah. And
Gino Wickman,
and just going through that. Got a leadership team assembled of 5 people in our company, and just learning how to do the 2 location thing, because that's still been new for us. But the future is bright at Zeno Office Solutions. I mean, we have the best people. We're all rowing in the right direction. And we for sure have the best customers. And I just feel like the stars have aligned, and not being overly optimistic, because I know how fast that can come, how fast things can change. But people are just such a huge part of your business. And so having the right ones, I sleep pretty good at night.
Yeah.
Even being a new entrepreneur that's scared of a new phase, now I'm consciously incompetent again. I was like, I know that I don't know. But I've looked back at being in that phase 2 or 3 different times in this industry, through sales, and then being a sales leader, and then running the company. It always worked out. Mm-hmm. And so I'm looking forward to it. We've had a ton of success here in Lubbock, already just being here. We came in June last year, so we've been here just over a year, but we've had a ton of success here, and we've had so much success in Midland. It's just fun. I mean, I'm just excited. I think the people are excited. I hope they are. They may not be, but I think that they are. And everybody's just, it's a fresh beginning. It's a new beginning. It's a good time. Good time to be at Zeno for sure. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I love the continuing to put yourself in that uncomfortable, unknown, it's that's growth.
It's growth.
You have to keep doing that.
That's growth.
All right. Let's do our fire round.
Okay.
We have a handful of questions. I haven't prepped you for any of this.
You have not. I'm worried about this.
All right, here we go. Just quick answers that's off the top of your head.
Answer.
What's your favorite movie?
Prefontaine.
Dang, really? Were you a runner?
Yeah, I was. Believe it or not, with this physique, I used to be a runner.
Prefontaine.
I did. How'd you know that movie?
My wife was a runner. We watched that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Prefontaine back in the day.
Wow. Okay. Favorite book? What's your favorite book?
Oh my gosh. Oh, there's so many good ones.
You've spouted out a couple.
Yeah. There's just too many. I don't even know. There's too many good ones. I don't even.
What's the one that you would most gift to a business owner, someone who's about to buy their own business? What do they need to read?
Good to Great.
Okay. Classic.
It's a classic. Yeah, Good to Great's a good one. Leaders Eat Last. It's a good one.
Is that Simon Sinek?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay.
There are a couple, but there's a lot. I have a library in my office. I wasn't really a reader back in the day. Mm-hmm. I've become a reader, oddly enough. So yeah, there's a bunch of good ones.
I love it. Okay. And then what's a piece of business advice that you hear all the time in your industry that you don't agree with?
I've talked about this before, but people get so caught up in the revenue trap. Mm-hmm. Everybody's always in the revenue trap.
More and more revenue?
Well, just that's how I did this much in business. I did. We're a $20 million company. We're a $50 million company. We're a $100 million company. It's how people identify themselves is by revenue.
Okay.
And a lot of businesses do that.
Okay.
Hey, we're a $500 million company. We got a $1.5 billion market cap. Publicly traded companies will say that a lot. Who cares? What did you make? Revenue. So I always say, revenue is for vanity. Profit is for sanity. That's my saying.
I like that.
So it doesn't matter. Yes, revenue is great, but profit gives you flexibility. It allows you to do things. It allows you to grow. It allows you to give your employee better benefits. It allows you to have nicer facilities. It allows you to get the best people. Like there's so much that, and people just, it's like, say I make 5% to my bottom line and I'm $100 million company. It's like, wouldn't you want to work on that a little bit? It just, to me, it always blows my mind because that is what that's what you walk away with.
Yeah.
That should matter the most. Line. That should matter the most.
They call it the bottom line. Yeah.
Yeah. And when you go to sell your company one day, they're not buying it off your revenue. Mm-hmm. They buy it off your profit. And so anyway, it always just in our business, in our industry, it's just so, everybody's so caught up in the revenue trap. So anyway, that's my thing. And that's how I grew up in this business. That was always my dad's mindset was always, that profit being the most important and being debt free. So we were a debt free company since we started, and we've remained that way to this day, which also is another huge thing, especially nowadays in 2024, even with interest rates and everything like that. Like debt crushes businesses. And I know people use debt to grow and stuff like that, but I feel really grateful that my dad, that I grew up around him in the business and just business in general. He taught me so many things, but being debt free and focusing on profit were two things he taught me from the get go, and just consistent, always looking at it. And how do we just get incremental improvement? We don't have to eat the elephant in one bite. How do we just get like 0.5% better here?
Yeah.
And he did that so many years in a row to where it was like, he built a great company, So, and people with my mentality, it's always like, we need to, it could be easy for me to be like, let's grow double digit, right? But it's like, if we could just get incrementally better, we got better.
Yep.
That's way more stable, way more, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but like sustainable.
Like, if you have cash flow, you can keep going.
Yeah.
If you're not making cash, like eventually you run out of money.
Exactly.
Okay. How can people get in touch with you? How can people do business with you? Where do we need to send them?
That's a great thing. So we're launching a new website on January 1st. So that'll be www.zenotx.com.
Zenotx, Xeno. Z. Why did I say X?
Is it because Xerox probably thinking in your mind? But no, Zenotx.com. And so we'll have that up, which is our current web, URL, but we'll just have a new refreshed web page January 1st. And other than that, you can call us. You can look us up on Google. One area of our business that we've, people love our service. So we've been trying to get customers to, provide more Google reviews. And I think we've done a pretty good job there. So look us up on Google, find us, call us. 432-550-9366 is the main number. But we have a beautiful facility in Midland. You can come by on the Loop in Midland. People know where we're at. Come see us. And then here in Lubbock, we have an office, our second office here, that we've just nearly about outgrown. So hopefully future plans are to buy a tract of land over here off the new Loop and eventually build a facility like we have down in Midland. So
awesome.
We'll be able to have a place up here, two of them off the Loop. So that'll be cool.
Awesome.
Yeah,
man. Thank you so
much. Thank you so much for having me, man. You're a good dude.
Thanks, man. I really appreciated it. And that was great. I think our listeners are going to get a lot of that.
Appreciate it, man.
Man, that was a fun conversation. Time flew by and it got way deeper than I thought it would be in a good way. And so if you got a lot out of that episode and you enjoyed that and want more like that, go ahead and click subscribe and keep coming back for the next ones. And if you are a business owner who feels stuck in your business and you feel that you can't work on your business, go to our website, stagcoaching.com. And in the upper right-hand corner, click to schedule a free consultation with us. And in your free consultation, we can either give you a current valuation, what your business is worth today and what it could possibly be worth in the future, or use your consultation to tackle the number one issue negatively affecting your business. And in that consultation, we can come up with a plan of attack and the next 3 things you need to try to solve that problem. It's free. And it's on our website. Book your free consultation at www.stagcoaching.com. Thank you, and we'll see you on the next one.